Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Hala University event Gaza, an eyewitness account. I'm Hala Alnaji from Gaza Strip. I arrived months ago to Sheffield, and I'm studying Master of Technical Architecture at Sheffield Hala University. I mean, if you are sitting here in benign lecture theater, that means all of you want answers, and all of you care about Palestine, and care about Gaza, and care about humanity. So, the American writer called Jennifer Donnelly once said, "Words fail me sometimes." And she said also, "I have read most every word in the Webster's International Dictionary of the English language, but I still have trouble making them come when I want them to." I mean, so this is the writers and authors' eternal struggle just to make or to translate the wordless into words. So how about me? I mean, I'm an architectural engineer, has just arrived to Sheffield, to this land, and I'm finding out that my relationship with language is so complicated. On the 7th of July 2014, I was at my office working on a design for a house when I got a call from my father asking me just to go back home as fast as I can because the situation got worse and worse in my area as the Israeli occupation started shelling, or random shelling and bombing on houses near the border. So I started to collect my stuff and leave the office, but I have never thought that that will be the last time for me at my office there, as after a few days it has been destroyed. So, and all the designs, the ideas and sketches for that house, of course, became ash. My family is made of my parents, my 7 sisters, and my 2 brothers. One of them has left to Germany to study medicine there, while the rest of us was in Gaza, stayed in Gaza this summer. So during the war, I became just stressed, and I was afraid of losing any of them because there was no safe place, never in Gaza. The sound of F-16, gunboats, and tanks still stick in my head actually, and I will never forget the days of darkness as there was no electricity, the days of the random shelling and bombing on houses, in day and night, by land, air, and also by sea. And during the 50 days of war, and according to the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, about 2,131 Palestinians were killed, including 1,471 civilians, of whom 501 children and 275 women. On the other hand, only 71 Israelis were killed, including 66 soldiers. And for housing and infrastructure, 18,000 housing units have been destroyed, leaving 110,000 displaced Palestinians in UNRWA emergency shelters or even on hospitals, I mean. By the way, these statistics and figures can be found anywhere in books, press, reports, TV, on the internet, but what you would not be able just to read the fear, the panic and the horror that we feel during this war. Not only me, my family, my friends, my neighbors, and everyone who lives there. So, one of the moments that I will never forget, when the Israeli occupation struck our neighbor's house with a warning missile. I remember that shouting and screaming was everywhere, and my mother was running through our house, calling and asking everyone just to go to the safe side of our house, far away from the house that had been warned of a missile. And my father was talking to my little brother and laughing with him, and feeling as there is nothing happened, and just trying to calm him down. And we spent more than 3 hours on that side, just preparing ourselves, waiting the moment that they are going just to strike the house. But nothing happened. Just a moment and hours of torment and waiting for unknown fate. So, what I'm going to say that there is nothing in Gaza except death. Maybe it's rapid death that comes anyway and anywhere, from the warplanes, gunboats, artillery, or even slow death that comes by using or drinking the polluted water or the polluted or breathing the polluted air, and also the exposure to the radiation of the or even exposure to the weapons, the radiation of the weapons that have been used through the war. I want just to remind you with something that many people dead of what? Of anxiety, being worried all the time. It's 3 wars that have been for a long time. And how can we imagine that a child in the age of 10 has witnessed 3 successive wars? It's inhumanity. So, during the war, I worked as a volunteer, and as a part of my voluntary work and on the schools, we ran activities with the children and families there. And these families who have been evacuated from their house after the Israeli occupation destroyed them, and they were taking shelters there. The families in the shelters were suffering really, and the children need care and attention, as well as food, water, clothes, and so on. And I cannot just find any words to describe the situation there, especially in North Gaza where I was. I remember being stuck between dozens of families who were asking for bedding and blankets just to try to sleep anywhere. And they spent all the previous night on the ground. The other people, the women, and even the babies. And one of the moment that I remember that the day before Eid al-Fitr, and the children had no clothes, no balance, and no toys to celebrate like the other children with their families in the world. And I remember a story once that when I was working with my friend, his name is Avni, and we have to work with them on a relaxation and deep breathing sessions. So when we was working with the children, we asked them to tell us about something that they like and they love and they were thinking about where they were trying just to relax, and another thing that is they hate and they want just to get out from their mind. And we asked one of the girls, her name is Marah, she was 8 years old, and she said, just I want to go back home and play with my toys again. So we looked at her and smiled and said, so what are the bad things that you were thought about when you was closing your eyes? She said, she just keep smiling for a while and said, I'm afraid to say that. But she looked at my friend Amri and said, you were at the roof of the school and you got a shot by the Israeli. And I can just hear the ambulance, but you were there. So actually, my friend we smiled and my friend just kissed her forehead and but inside that we were really shocked and surprised by her behavior. So I think that our children are suffering even in their dreams. Also, during my work, we have some sessions of drawing and paintings with the children, and I can remember that the children have the ability just to draw and express what they saw and what they feel in a way that I'm sure that other people just cannot describe. And I will show you something after my talk. So I was wondering just how we can just replace the tragic moments that attach to their mind with another beauty things, But so I know, at least 373,000 children require direct and specialized psychosocial support. So, however, children are showing symptoms of increasing distress, including bedwetting, clinging to parents, and nightmare. That's in Gaza. That's a huge number, 373,000 children. It's horrible. So, while I was busy struggling against death, I got a message from Sheffield Hallam University informing me that I got a place and I have been accepted into Master of Technical Architecture program, postgraduate program, and I was awarded also a scholarship. I was so happy actually, but unfortunately I couldn't apply for the visa because the British office in Gaza was declared during the war. So at that time I have three choices, even trying just to apply for visa in Jerusalem and Amman or Cairo. So I have tried to apply through Jerusalem and Amman, but it was so complicated as it was hard just to get a permission from Israel just to get through Eres crossing. And also Egypt, it was so hard also because it is not allowed for students just to go through Rafah crossing without any visa. And I need just to apply for a visa to go to complete my studying, but it was hard. So actually I started to lose hope, But I decided that I have just to try. This is the only way. So I just packed my bags and left my home with my mother towards Rafah. And I cannot describe the situation, though it was really hard, but finally, and after 3 times of trying, they turned me back and go again. It was hard. After 2 times of trying and crying, shouting, and just asking for mercy and just to avoid, or give me just the chance just to avoid losing my scholarship and my future. They allowed me just to get through. It was hard days really, and I feel like no one cared. I mean, it's not me. It's not just me. I mean, there are many students there in Gaza waiting to get out from Gaza and enroll in their courses outside. Well, in Egypt I applied for the visa, and it takes about 5 days to get my passport. And on the 17th of September, I just left Cairo to London, and from London to Sheffield. And I have been here for a month now. So to conclude, just want to say that I'm not talking about the political situation. No, I'm not. I'm here just to call for humanity and justice for all the Palestinians around the world, and especially in Gaza. And thank you all for listening. But may I ask all of you just to try to experience the 24 hours with me. I mean, just to try together to experience one day that I have spent in Gaza. Let's imagine that we have 24 hours, and we are going just to live one day during the war in Gaza. So good morning. We are going to start our day. It's 6:30 a.m. So let's imagine that we are going to start a day. So I mean, the sky looks red, but I'm not going to say that we are. Let's imagine that we're sleeping and we just get out and wake up. But I'm sure that we cannot sleep. We couldn't sleep. I mean, last night because of the bombing and shelling all the night. And I mean, the sky is just talking from here to there. So before, I want just to say something, that when we get up, the first thing that all the Palestinians do, I mean, we're doing in Gaza through the war, they were just thank God because they have the chance to live for another one day. Because no one knows us. So let's just try to manage. I mean, let's imagine that today is a ceasefire. So it is a quiet day and calm day. So we have just a chance to go out and see what's going on outside after a very hard, a horrible day, a horrible night, I mean in the evening. So let's have a trip. We are going to Beit Hanun. Last night it was bombed by the Israeli occupation. That man who's my friend, and we were together in the next day, and we was just surprised and shocked by the view of destruction in that area. And you will find that all the people, the owners of these houses were just from the warning, just they went to their houses just to see if there is something that they can just rescue, something they can find, or if they can just pick any of their memories which have been destroyed in these houses. And the others, which have been found that their houses have been totally destroyed, they just try to build another tent or having their tent beside their old house which has been destroyed, and trying just to live again. By the way, I have before worked at this area, but when I went back just to see the area and to see the destruction, I wasn't able just to recognize the area because of the whole destruction. As you can see, just you cannot, maybe there is here a street or a small road, but you cannot just imagine or recognize it. So after this small spread, I was also working on a donation work for the Palestinian families that have been suffering through the war. So me and two friends, started a Facebook page for collecting donations from people outside, just to trying to help those people who have been suffering. The page name was Send Money to Gaza, and actually many people have been donated. So we gathered the money and tried just to make small sheets with about 50 shekel, that has been a small amount of money, just to try to give these sheets to people or families, just to try to buy their needs. And actually this donation campaign was for the families that have been evacuated from their houses and taking the Shifa as a shelter. So we are going now to Shifa. This is Shifa Hospital. Actually, you were surprised by the view, but this is the background, the back garden, behind the Shifa building, and the people there, just as they try just to build their tents again and try just to continue their life. I think that 80% of these people are from Shujaiya, and a lot of you heard about Shujaiya and what's happened there. So I was surprised by the number of the people there. When I asked them, they told me that some members of the family were wounded and injured during the war, so they were in the hospitals. And also, the UNRWA shelters have been full of people, and there is no free spaces. So they try just to keep close to their relatives and family, and just stay here. We have met people and trying just to talk to them, and they were describing how they left their house under the random shelling and bombing, leaving their memories there, and everything they own. I think that the eyes of the children just can't describe the horrible thing that they face. But what makes you happy is to find the children smile, even after all what happened. So was we now have to go back to our volunteer work. It's 2 p.m. and we have just to go back to our own school. So this is actually an interesting moment when we go back to the school and we find all the children waiting us at the entrance of the school because they want us to play and laugh again. So they just begin towards us and hanging with our necks on. So what we saw in the previous picture, it was just the happiest view of the school, but when you go inside, you will find that the situation is horrible inside, and you can find that the children sleeping on the ground without no blankets and no bedding. So in school we have to work with the children in many activities, but during this we have to work with them with relaxation and deep breathing session, and we have also drawing and painting sessions, and also we have face painting. And I'm going just to try to show you something. This is the relaxation sessions. You have to try to, as I told you the previous story before, just to try them to relax. And we were talking to them while they are closing their eyes and trying to ask them to think of beautiful things and things they love, things they would love to see, and just to forget the bad things and the bad memories that is stuck in their mind. And after the relaxation, we try just to talk to them what they have seen, when they were closing their eyes. And we always just try to telling them the 3 rules that you must keep laughing as loud as you can, don't stop laughing, and come back tomorrow. So this is Marah. So we're now going to the painting and drawing sessions. I'm not going just to talk much more because I think that the photo itself just trying to speak about the children, how they think. You can see that the tanks, like 16. Step 16 above the Palestinian flag, and here a donkey, I don't know. Here is Palestinian fighter under the trees. And even a smile. You can find a smile in each okay, the same thing. Try just to, after that bad situation, just try to let them smile for a moment. We are going just to leave the school and going back home. But I want just to remind all of you that we are talking about a day in the war, and it is a ceasefire. So I want all of you just to imagine what exactly was going on when there is no ceasefire. So going back to home does not mean that when we are going back to home, we have to relax. But it looks different. I mean, when we go back to home in Gaza and in the war, we have another mission that we have to work on. And what I was doing is just to try to translate the news to English and to try just to let all the people know what is really going on in Gaza. Because the media and the news sometimes they didn't transfer the news as it is in the reality. So it was our responsibility just to try to telling the people the stories that we have met and what's going on exactly in Gaza. 10 p.m. Well, sorry, it is the electricity timetable in Gaza. That it is just from 3 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Just and after this, at 10 o'clock, so there is no electricity, and we have just to try to sleep without electricity and under bombing actually. I'm gonna say good night, but I want just all of you to try to hear something. Actually, my friend, who is my neighbor actually, recorded this, and it's just small, it's less than a minute, but it describes what is going on when we are trying just to sleep. So that's what's going on outside. That was his mother telling him just to keep far away from the windows, just as a kind of safety. So, thank you all. Bye. To write something about the event and your name, your email and contact. Thank you.
Okay, Hala will take questions. So what we'll do is if you want to raise your hand, and we'll try to get through questions in an orderly fashion. So if you have a question, please do raise your hand. If you don't have any, I think the first hand is usually the highest breaker. So who would like to be brave enough to ask the first question? Yes, Harlan.
Thank you for sharing this with us. I don't know if I can say that we did a very small part of this offering with our brothers and sisters in Gaza. The part that is, I cannot even say that we can compare it with that. But we were inspired by the resistance, the resilience and strength of the people there. I would like you to talk a bit about you talked about the suffering, but I would like to hear from you more about the resilience, the strength of the mothers, of the fathers, of the medics who have dedicated their time, their lives were put on the edge just to help others and to try to deliver them to the nearest hospital or what's been remaining from the hospital.
Well, I mean, through my working, just I have met many women. Actually, you cannot just describe them as strong women because they are more than this. You can find just women that have been lost her house, her husband, and one or two of their, sons, and she's still just struggling and trying just to find a way for her other sons, just to try to live again, and dealing with the situation as take it easy. She was just trying just to calm down her sons and behind, all this strength, you can find just that she is a sad woman. There is many stories actually. I'm talking about this maybe take time, but the Palestinian woman, throughout the history, is known for her struggling and her strength. So, in the schools, I remember that many women have been looking for taking care of her son, trying just to go back to her home which have been destroyed, to gather some clothes and blankets within for her family in the schools. And women's done something like this, and did something like this, and they sure that they this is exposure to dangerous, because they were just going back to dangerous area, and this area have been destroyed. It's not safe areas. So that's mean that they are just struggling and trying just to find a way to live again. Thank you. Any other question?
I have a question.
Okay.
So when they say 1,700 civilians died, and the rest of the people, were they all fighters, or were they just Hamas-elected government officials? Or when they mean like out of the 2,000 or 2,100, 1,700 or 1,500 were civilians. So the rest of all people, were they actually people who were fighting against the Israeli army, or were they just officials who worked for Hamas? Because just working for Hamas doesn't make you a terrorist or a fighter.
You were talking about the people who have been killed?
Yeah, in this war in the last 50, 60 years.
The civilians?
Yeah,
Or the others?
civilians. They say that 75% or 80%.
1,473 civilians.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the rest of them were all actual fighters against Israel, or were they just Hamas officials? Because Hamas is an elected government by Palestinians, isn't it? By Gaza people. So just being elected by the Gaza people doesn't make you a fighter against Israeli army or, a terrorist. I would think so.
But just for a moment, I didn't understand your question. You're asking about the one, I have told you that there is 2,131 Palestinians were killed. 1,473 from them were civilians.
Yeah, so what was the rest of the people?
The others.
Yeah, the others. What they how do you define non-civilian in this war?
I mean, the others who were killed, they were defend themselves. I mean, they were fighters. Yes, yes, they were fighters.
Okay.
They should be fighters. I mean, this is land. There should be a kind of resistance. There should be fighters who have to defend this land. I mean.
Yeah.
But if we want just to compare the numbers of the fighters, but we are not looking. This is the number of the fighters and the number of the soldiers. It's not important. It's not a big number. If you want just to compare it with the humanitarian and civilians, people who have been killed, and that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about a political situation or a political problem. I'm talking just about from a humanitarian, because I'm calling for these people who have been killed and they didn't do anything. Okay. Any question?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Hala. That was really interesting, and I like the way you showed us how a day might be. During the attacks on Gaza, there was a protest at an Israeli factory in England that makes drone engines, and I wondered if you could tell us something about what it feels like to live in Gaza. What most of us here have never heard a drone, and we don't know really what it's like. Could you tell us something about what the drones sound like and what it's like to have?
I mean, how the people deal with when they hear about the protest?
No, I want you to tell us what it's like in Gaza, what the drones sound like, and what it's like to have those planes overhead. Do you understand, or do you want me to?
No.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great.
عم بقول انه هون كان في مصنع بيصنع اللي هي الطائرات الامكامل هاي الزنانه الطنانه اللي بتضل بالجو الراقد. فهي عم تقول لك انه فيك توصفي لنا كيف واحد بيقدر يعيش يوم كامل طبعا على مدار الحرب كلها تحت اصوات هاي الطائرات، توصفي لهم الشعور.
Actually, it's become usual because I have heard it for a long time. So, I didn't notice it during the war. I mean, because there was another new sounds that I have heard. So, like bombing, shelling, tanks, and so hearing of the noise of these planes now, it was just a normal situation. Okay.
During the war this summer, the attention of the world was to some extent on Gaza. Now, of course, it's dropped out of the news because there's very little about Gaza being used. So, how do people in Gaza feel now that everyone's on the way and they're resisting again?
Well, they feel angry actually, but I mean, this war maybe looks different than the other wars because I think the media and was talking much more about the war and the situation in Gaza than the previous wars. So the people in Gaza they were feel enthusiasm and they were feeling just a kind of happiness because they saw that just the people outside supported them. So, but of course, if there is something and the people didn't know about it, I mean the media, and or just to transfer it in a wrong way, we were feeling angry, of course.
Your family is still there?
Yes, my family is there. Just me, I'm here, and my brother is in Germany, and the rest of my family is still there in Gaza.
And I saw your Facebook. Do you keep in contact with them on Facebook? Or
Yes, Facebook, Skype, Viber.
what is it like?
I have to talk to them 3 times a day, 3 times a day.
Can I ask what it's like that they are here and you are, or they are there and you are here?
Well, the first thing that they feel that I'm safe, and this is the good thing. But of course, I miss them very much.
Maybe it's the last question.
You talked a lot about the children in Gaza. So that must have been very upsetting for you to talk about it. So thank you for managing to do it in public. It must be very hard. But you're not so old yourself. You must have grown up as a child with a lot of those things happening to you as well. Did you? Because I really wonder how the children survive. I mean, you don't seem to be somebody who's particularly damaged.
Yeah.
You wonder the kind of long-term damage it's causing to children who grow up with that
Yes.
fear. Well, what do children do about the fear? What do people do about the fear?
Well, I don't know. As I was a volunteer at that time, I'm trying to help them, but I'm sure that they need an extensive, help and care, because the situation is not easy as we think, and these people are suffering, and I'm sure that the problems will appear in the next time. We didn't feel it in this time because everyone just was thinking of the war, what's going on, and so on. But after everything just become quiet and calm down, these people will just, these children will try just to rethink again about what's happening and how it looks like. And I told you that there is problems that have been started. For example, the children who are showing symptoms of increasing distress and bedwetting, clinging to parents, and nightmares. And I remembered one of the mothers when we was just playing with the children, and she comes and asking me just to talk together, and she told me that her son is suffering and have a bedwetting, and she was asking me just not to tell anyone about this, because she don't want any of the families and the children to know about this. So actually, I'm not a psychosocial, specialized in this. So I didn't know what to do. So I told the UNRWA staff about this. But what they told me that they cannot just start treatment for these children because it takes much time, and it should be organized very well and according to a timetable. This treatment. So he told me that we cannot just start to treat them. We have to wait until the war ended. Until the war ends, and then I left. But I don't know. But I'm sure that they are setting programs to treat these children. Anyhow.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hala. Can we have a round of applause, please? Yeah, so very quickly we'll just go through what is coming up and how you can get more involved in the Hala Palestine Society. The Hala Palestine Society is open for everyone. It's a free society. We meet every Tuesday in the Harlem Building 2401. It's an open meeting. Please do come along. It's at 6 o'clock. Our next event at Hallam is called Medication and Occupation. It is a collaboration with the Nursing Society. Hopefully we will have a doctor who's worked in Gaza to come along and actually share his experience of how it is to be a medic under such conditions. We also have the University of Sheffield Society collaborating over there. They have their meetings every Monday at 6 o'clock in the Octagon Building, room 3. I don't even go to that university, I still remember. That's an achievement. PSC, you have an event on the 5th of November. The 6th. Right. Really quickly, I'll just show you a cameo of what to expect on that event. It was going on YouTube. So we have a really famous poet who came apparent from their poem We Teach Life, which I will just show you now. And I can't spell, that's the problem. I'm a teacher, by the way, so you have some problems. Right, so very quickly, a few people will be coming to Sheffield on the 6th of November. PSC will be involved. It's a PSC event. You can buy their tickets today. Can you buy tickets today, guys?
Yes, we are.
You can buy tickets today. And yeah, so very quickly we'll just show you what to expect.
One of the journalists asked me, don't you think it would all be fine if you just stopped teaching your children to hate? I did not insult the person, I was very polite, but I wrote this poem as a response to these types of questions we Palestinians always get. Today, my body was a TV'd massacre. Today, my body was a TV'd massacre that had to fit into sound bites and word limits. Today, my body was a TV massacre that had to fit into sound bites and word limits, filled enough with statistics to counter measured response. And I perfected my English and I learned my UN resolutions. But still, he asked me, Ms. Ziyada, don't you think everything would be resolved if you would just stop teaching so much hatred to your children? Pause. I look inside of me for strength to be patient, but patience is not at the tip of my tongue as the bombs drop over Gaza. Patience has just escaped me. Pause. Smile. We teach life, sir. Rafif, remember to smile. Pause. We teach life, sir. We Palestinians teach life after they have occupied the last sky. We teach life after they have built their settlements and apartheid walls. After the last skies, we teach life, sir. But today, my body was a TV massacre made to fit into sound bites and word limits. And just give us a story, a human story. You see, this is not political. We just want to tell people about you and your people. So give us a human story. Don't mention that word apartheid and occupation. This is not political. You have to help me as a journalist to help you tell your story, which is not a political story. Today, my body was a TV massacre. How about you give us a story of a woman in Gaza who needs medication? How about you? Do you have enough bone-broken limbs to cover the sun? Hand me over your dead and give me the list of their names in 1,200 word limits. Today, my body was a TV massacre made to fit into sound bites and word limits and move those that are desensitized to terrorist blood. But they felt sorry. They felt sorry for the cattle over Gaza. So I give them UN resolutions and statistics, and we condemn and we deplore and we reject, and these are not two equal sides, occupier and occupied, and 100 dead, 200 dead, and 1,000 dead, and between that war crime and massacre, I vent out words and smile, not exotic, smile, not terrorist. And I recount, 100 dead, 200 dead, 1,000 dead. Is anyone out there? Will anyone listen? I wish I could wail over their bodies. I wish I could just run barefoot in every refugee camp and hold every child, cover their ears so they wouldn't have to hear the sound of bombing for the rest of their life the way I do. Today, my body was a TV massacre, and let me just tell you, there is nothing your UN resolutions have ever done about this. And no soundbite I come up with, no matter how good my English gets, no soundbite will bring them back to life. No soundbite will fix this. We teach life, sir. We Palestinians wake up every morning to teach the rest of the world life, sir.
When you guys clapping was a TV clap. Yeah, thank you very much, guys, and do get involved with Hala Alnaji Society. Feel free to talk to any of us. Thank you very much for coming.